Potentially the craziest CDL roster mania continues today on Saturday with this coming out from Ronnie. LA Thieves have made an offer to Cellium to join the team. Diving a bit more into the article, it says here that Thieves offered Cellium a contract, and this push to sign Cell was reportedly driven by the Thieves management themselves and not the players. But it also notes the Vegas Falcons have also thrown their hat in the ring and are also looking to sign Cellium. So you got the Vegas Falcons probably offering a very sizable contract, more than what Thieves can offer. Then obviously you got the Thieves who are offering a really great team with Scrap and Hydra to pair alongside Cellium here, as well as Dylan Envoy. And of course, this would be for Dan Ghosty to replace him on the roster, making the team Cellium, Scrap, Hydra, and Envoy with Shane and Sender as the coaching staff. Now, I mean, this would be a pretty blockbuster move, right? Cellium to move would make the Thieves team that people said was a super team last year even more super, right? One of the most consistent players in the game. People are on him about his play style, and, you know, they say he likes to kill whore and things like that, player for his KD. But at the end of the day, we all can acknowledge Cellium is a great player. But the ROSTERMANIA doesn't stop there. Atlanta FaZe is currently targeting Rencor as an AR to play for them in Black Ops 7 here from the Ghost of Hope. This is something I actually heard about yesterday that I think is pretty interesting because Rencor is not a free agent, right? He is someone that FaZe would have to buy out, and there has been a lot of rumors that FaZe doesn't have that much money, but there is also rumors that, let's say, someone like a BZ, who is a restricted free agent, as announced, we talked about in the previous video, so check out all the previous ones if you haven't already, but a BZ would be someone that could potentially be bought out by the Vegas Falcons, let's say. Maybe you turn that money into buying Rencor for Atlanta FaZe here, so this is definitely pretty interesting here. And then Taylor here also comes along and said that they heard this earlier, and the team that they recently heard is Simp, 04, Abuza, and Rencor, which is a very interesting roster because 04 has kind of been linked a bunch to FaZe, Simp, and 04. Rencor now is the third, but Abuza as the fourth pretty much means that Cellium is the only other option for LA Thieves, right? Because previously it was LAT looking at Cellium or Abuza, and Draza was also mentioned in that conversation, but we're going to talk about that in just a second because we got some news about that as well. But if it's Abuza and Rencor to FaZe, then that means Cell is the only option. And if he picks Falcons, what do the Thieves do? Do they bring Dan Ghosty back? I mean, I guess so, but also, does Dan Ghosty want to come back, right? If the management's trying to move on from him, maybe he is under contract, so maybe he wouldn't have a choice, but maybe there's a little bit of some bad taste in his mouth from what could potentially have been happening this offseason in this roster mania. So this is definitely something to watch out, but this FaZe roster does look pretty good. But speaking of Draza, Taylor says here that LAT initially targeted Draza after EWC, but the beef, the attempts to squash the beef between Scrap and Draza was unsuccessful. And I saw a clip from Dylan Attach, I guess, of him on stream. I don't know where the clip was. I couldn't find it, but never mind. I found the clip. But basically in this clip, Attach says the only reason this didn't happen is because Draws would not squash the beef. Apparently Scrap, he said, is kind of over it. He doesn't care anymore, and he was down to squash the beef, but Draws said no, he didn't want to, so hence why Draws will not be on the Steve's team. I guess if he was like, sure, and they worked this out, we might already have seen Draza for Dan Ghosty announced on the timeline, but as of now, Draza is obviously not going to be happening, and it's either going to be Cellium or Dan Ghosty from my perspective. Obviously, if you're Cellium in this situation, you got a big decision to make. Do you go play with Scrap and Hydra and probably make like half the money you would from a contract, or do you go to the Falcons to play with Pred and likely Xnid, because they were both tweeting today the Vegas Falcons jerseys with heart emojis and things like that, so I'd imagine they're both sticking around, but maybe you get to BZ to come on over with you to the Vegas Falcons. We'll see. I want you to know, let me know in the comments, what would you do if you were Cell? Would you take double the contract money and play with the Falcons, or would you take half and go play with LAT? But looking at current rosters and what's going on for Black Ops 7, I mean, you can see here, shout out CDL Intel, this is a really good graphic that they posted, but FaZe, BZ's restricted, so he might not be coming back, but Gentlemates, Diamond Con is also restricted, so I mean, he's probably not coming back. Thieves, we don't really know what's happening. Heretics, I mean, there's rumors Rencor is going to get bought out. Boston Breach, we don't know what's happening. Ravens, we don't know what's happening. C9, G2, Surge is completely empty. There's a lot of spots on here, and there is a lot of free agents. I mean, this is another great graphic. All these free agents. I mean, Formal's on here. I don't know if Formal's actually coming back. I know he's been like baiting on the TL with a couple emojis here and there, but there's a lot of free agents from premier ones like a BZ and Cell and Draws and the Surge guys and Gwyn and Kenny and Kremp and Real. There's a lot of Kismet. There's a lot of great free agents and a lot of top challengers, guys that are looking to get on teams. So we're gonna have to see what happens, bro. But I imagine we're gonna see more rumors and things like that over the next week, and then we'll finally start seeing some confirmations of probably like who FaZe, who Thieves, who Falcons are gonna pick up, maybe even Ultra, and then from there it'll probably slow down and the bottom end teams might pick up the scraps throughout the next few months. But make sure you're subbed to the channel if you want to stay up to date with everything ROSTERMANIA. Turn those noties on so you don't miss a video, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.